Hello and welcome into the Birds of the Round Table for a trade deadline edition of the podcast. No Victory Tuesday. Maybe it is a victory considering some of the moves that were made by us and by other divisional teams. I don't know, but we're going to talk about it all. We'll talk about the trade deadline. We'll talk about the top matchups to watch in this upcoming game on Monday Night Football for those of you that don't have YouTube TV and will get to watch the game. I'm your host, Shane Haff. Give me a follow on Twitter at Shane Haff NFL, joined by the crew. We've got David. Follow him on Twitter at David Neese PHL. David, how you doing this evening?
Doing good. Looking forward to yet another weekend I can do what I want since the game's not until Monday Night Football. So that's back-to-back Saturday and Sundays. I enjoy that. Probably for the last time until mid-February.
I mean, last time for back-to-backs, but the Eagles got a whole lot of non-Sunday games coming up on this schedule, and to be honest, it's going to drive me a little crazy, but I do enjoy not having to rush into games and just being able to watch whatever Sunday, but the routine aspect of it is definitely a struggle on non-normal games. But also joined by Ryan. Give him a follow at Philly Sports PSA. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing good. This was the perfect bye week. All of our enemies lost, and we somehow overtook the number one spot as well. So, yeah, couldn't have asked for a better bye week to go for the Eagles.
Yeah, you really couldn't. Like, just as I was watching games and the results last weekend, you get Detroit loses, Green Bay loses, San Francisco wins, but they did so beating the Giants. So, whatever there. You get the Chiefs losing, which doesn't really matter, but that's always fun.
Always
you get
nice.
Washington losing, although we're going to have to start rooting against Seattle a little bit here. I think they're going to end up being the biggest contender for the one seed.
Good.
Yeah, and I really like that Rashid Shaheed trade for them, by the way. But anyways, all in all, a good weekend. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to dive into some trade deadline stuff off the top. So the Eagles made 3 moves in the lead up to the trade deadline. None of them were today. I kind of kept waiting for a last move today. But so we'll run through these. The first trade that they made was Michael Carter II from the Jets before the Jets went full fire sale. And I don't have the terms in front of me, but if I remember correctly, it was John Mechie and a 6th for Carter and a 7th. Was that right?
Correct.
Yeah, so Michael Carter is a player that was a really good player 2 years ago. I remember Mark and I do an exercise every offseason where we draft a hypothetical expansion team. So we establish protected players and then we build a roster out of the unprotected players. And Jets fans got really grumpy with us in 2022 because Michael Carter was not a guy we protected. And we probably should have. And he was a really good player. 2024, he was banged up, and he just hasn't really been the same player, dealing with injuries over the last year and a half. But he is a slot cornerback. I don't think he's going to give you anything outside, and I don't think it probably means they're going to kick Cooper DeJean outside. I think it mostly just means, hey, we had a chance to trade a guy we were never going to use for a guy that we might potentially use, and I think that's what that was. So, Ryan, what were your thoughts on the Michael Carter trade?
Yeah, I mean, obviously at first, I think that was everybody's concern as you go out and you get a really good slot corner. You start to worry about the slot corner you have moving to the outside where the issues appear more visible. So, yeah, I think with the, the plethora of moves that Howie made, I think it's more or less of just all in all, just giving Vic Fangio options. You now can, do a multitude of different things. You can now see, and it may not be, okay, well, here's going to be CB2, here's going to be it could just be every game by game where Vic can utilize the strengths of each corner maybe and kind of put them in their respective best position, if you will. So I think optionality and versatility was the name of the game for some of these moves, and that's what Michael Carter gives Vic and this Eagles defense.
All right, David, what were your thoughts on this trade?
Yeah, I think y'all nailed it. I mean, 2 years ago, Michael Carter was, a very good player who thrived in the slot. I think he brings depth first and foremost to the Eagles, and if something happens on the outside, It allows the Eagles the flexibility, if Carter's doing well, to put Cooper DeJean outside if needed. It just gives them an extra, versatile alignment that they're able to use if, they don't seem to figure out, the outside. And I think, the common theme with every addition that we're going to say is going to be very redundant, because every sentence should probably start with "if healthy." If healthy, Michael Carter is going to, bring value to the team, and it allows a lot more flexibility. And we can say that about the next two players that we're about to discuss as well.
Yeah, so then they go and trade for Jaire Alexander. It was just a late round pick swap, 6th round pick this year, I think it was, for Alexander, and a 7th round pick the following year. So basically give up nothing for Alexander. And to me, Alexander is a guy that's been really good in Green Bay for a long time. Left Green Bay and went to Baltimore and has been really bad this year, basically essentially becoming benched. And so, you look at him, and when they signed him in the offseason, I thought it was a really good move. And he hasn't looked good when he's played. And I'm not relying on him. Like, if what you get out of Carter and Alexander is what we've seen on tape in 2025, either player is going to play. Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson are going to be ahead of those guys, and they're not going to play. But the Eagles are betting, and they're not betting much, by the way, a 6th round pick into a 7th round pick, that maybe you can get more out of these guys. And we all know, we can look back at the Bryce Huff thing and talk about the importance of scheme fit. Huff, good player for the Jets, just totally not even effective at all in Philadelphia, and then having a good year in San Francisco this year before he got hurt. And I think the Eagles are hoping it's a similar thing for Jaire Alexander. So the Ravens play a totally different style of defense than the Eagles do, and I think you're just hoping that a scheme change / a change of scenery gets you back closer to the Jaire Alexander of 2021, 22, 23. David, what were your thoughts on that trade?
Yeah, again, if healthy, he's got a pretty unstable knee from what most people, state. Again, you mentioned the scheme. I think that the one Fangio runs is far better for him than what the Ravens have done this year. And if Fangio wants experience, the Eagles are bringing in a guy who's had 80 career regular season games, 7 postseason starts, or 6 starts, 7 postseason games. He's a former team captain, and he comes into a room that really doesn't have anybody like him in it. This is a guy who all of the young corners that are in that room can immediately respect. You have Jacorian Bennett, you have Cooper DeJean, Mac McWilliams, Quinyon, Keely. This is an adult. This is a guy who's also brings some swag to the position. He brings a lot of knowledge, and it's something that's, kind of missing from that Eagles cornerback room. So you mentioned, the value of the trade was a very minuscule risk. If all he ends up bringing is experience and knowledge and just a wealth of, lessons that he can teach the rest of the room, I think it was probably worth it just for that alone.
All right. Yeah, we got a comment here from Brett Eclipse that I think is good. Trading for players that have shown a lot of talent but have been held back by injuries is a major trend in Philly's more relevant acquisitions throughout the recent years. And yeah, they certainly seem to have a lot of confidence. Either it's confidence in their medical staff to get these guys right, or they're just buying the dip. And if you buy the dip on enough guys, you're eventually going to hit on one of them. And they've had good success there. So, Ryan, what were your thoughts on the Alexander trade?
Yeah, I think this is, as you said, that you're giving up nothing, and you're banking on this potential, because, it was 2 years ago when, Jaire Alexander was, an All-Pro. Maybe it was 3 years ago. I know he's had, a couple of years of injuries, and just really didn't seem to fit in, in Baltimore. But also Baltimore has like 4 or 5 guys that, he was having to kind of beat out, all while learning, a new system here. So he seemed to have gotten healthy, as he was, healthy scratched, as they say, a hockey term. But so, yeah, hopefully it just kind of is a change of his current scenery into a scheme that kind of works for him. And he has the potential to easily come in and take the CB2 job, obviously. And it's kind of wide open, and that's what we're kind of hoping here. But if he doesn't, he adds, again, depth, and depending on, whom we might be going up against, could give Vic another card to kind of to play and see what works. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I saw some reactions that I just didn't really understand online. A lot of people were, at least in my comments, a lot of people were kind of complaining about these moves. And it's like, at the end of the day, you're really trading nothing. And if I recall correctly, shoot, I had it up a minute ago and I must have just X'd it off, but that was an accident. But the Eagles still have a first, they have a second, they've got 2 third-rounders, and it's important to mention the third-rounder they traded for Jaelan Phillips, who we're about to talk about, was their own pick,
right?
Not the pick they got from the Jets. So
right.
They've got a first, a second, a third that's going to be very high in that round, a comp pick in the third, projected, 2 fourths and 2 fifths. So they still own a lot of draft capital. I just think these were almost nothing to give away. One more comment here from Brett Eclipse. He said he was asking if Green Bay was running anything similar to what Fangio runs when Jaire was having his good years. Not really. If I admittedly don't watch film on other teams like I do the Eagles, but if I remember correctly, they were running a lot of like middle field closed coverages, so single high safety stuff, which is similar to what the Ravens were doing. I mean, there's differences in it, but not a lot of split field stuff like Vic does. So we'll see. We'll just see how he plugs in and fits there. But then we go to the final acquisition. It was Jaelan Phillips for the 3rd round pick, the Eagles' 3rd round pick from the Miami Dolphins. Ryan, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, this one was, the sexy trade. Jaelan Phillips and as obviously David had said, there's a lot of when healthy talk. And this one more than the others, this guy is, a top 10, top 15 edge rusher in this league when healthy. And he is still coming, off, of an injury from last year that he's, still coming back from. He's, starting off this year a little slower than he would normally like to. But I think, again, he's heading in the right direction. He's feeling more comfortable. He's getting, his kind of versatility back and his athleticism back. And honestly, at full strength, he, even not at full strength, he comes in right now and he's your best edge rusher. So I think that's an easy trade. And if he ends up leaving on free agency, you get that comp pick back. So, again, I think this was a smart trade by Howie to get somebody in here to hopefully live up to that potential and for the push for the playoffs.
David, what were your thoughts on this trade?
Yeah, I like this a lot. I know a lot of people wanted Bradley Chubb when they mentioned, the Dolphins when they were looking through it, but I actually like Jaelan Phillips for the Eagles a lot more. If for no other reason, he's younger. I know it comes with injury risk, but so does every player that you ever acquire. Anybody can get hurt at any point. He's a former mid-first round pick. He can jump in the fire immediately as he's familiar with Fangio's schemes and terminology. He's been improving, week by week, which also coincides with his overall health improving. Like Ryan mentioned, if they lose Phillips, they'll likely receive a 4th round pick in 2027. So to get this type of talent, even if it all doesn't work out for a 1-round pick swap to fix a position of weakness and bring some juice to the edge, is worth it. But he's also a guy who they have a lot of interest in extending. So, if this goes as planned, this is a guy who will probably be on the team for a while. He's played 73% of the defensive snaps. He has an 18.7% pressure rate, which I believe was 8th highest among all players with 100 or more pass rushing snaps this season. His first step is not as explosive as it was when he first came into the league, probably due to injuries, but he's got speed, strength, really good hand usage. He has a really good deep pass rushing plan. If you're going to nitpick anything, it'd be he needs to finish. He gets a lot more hands on people than get them down on the ground, which kind of coincides with a lot of what the Eagles pass rushers have done for a large part of this season as well. He sets the edge well. He forces runs back inside. He's got a high motor. He diagnoses plays well. And, you couple him with the addition of bringing back Brandon Graham, they raised the floor significantly. Patrick Johnson, who's no longer on the team, Aziz, who is on IR, are now Jaelan Phillips and Brandon Graham, and that is a huge improvement for this Eagles pass rush.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a guy that played under Fangio in 2023, and so Fangio knows a lot about him. It's interesting, as bad as the culture was in Miami, that there's anybody that Fangio wanted to bring out of there, which I guess a bad culture doesn't mean everybody in there hated the guy to begin with, but Fangio knows him and was okay with bringing him in, and that makes me feel really good about it. And he was having a breakout season in 2023 when he tore his Achilles. He tore his ACL last year, and so he's had major injuries the last 2 seasons. And I think you can tell that, like, he doesn't bend the edge the way that he used to anymore, but he's still fast, quick off of the line. He's been really good rushing against guards. You could rush him inside some. He's not going to help you a ton as like a run defender. He's fine. He's not a big run defender type guy. But for an Eagles pass rush that definitely needed some help, I like the move. And, there's the potential they could extend him. There's the potential they could get a comp pick. If you only got him for the back half of this season and you don't end up getting a comp pick because you cancel it out by signing guys, a 3rd rounder is kind of high. But if you think about it as closer to potentially a 4th rounder, especially if the Eagles go on a run, I think it was good value, and I'm glad they made a move somewhere along the defensive line, although I still would have loved to have seen him get a defensive tackle as well. Brett Eclipse says, again, fun fact, the last guy Howie acquired in an in-season trade from Miami was Jaire, a.k.a. Howie's only good in-season acquisition, so maybe history will repeat itself. Yeah, maybe so. We can certainly hope so.
If I could add to Phillips, in addition to, his play on the field, he's also a really good person who will contribute significantly to their culture that they're building there on the team. He donates a considerable amount of time, he's well respected in the community. And the first thing he said, I believe it was John Clark, and he, the airport guy, he got him right when he came. He got him right when he got off the plane. And Jaelan stated that if he could play anywhere in the league, if he could have choose his destination, it would have been in Philadelphia with Fangio. So what you said about him, the culture there or whatever, well, he definitely wasn't a part of any negativity because he loves the guy.
All right. Awesome. So,
on the airport.
Does anybody have any other just general trade deadline things they want to talk about before we get into this Packers matchup?
One. Yeah, I have a couple. I'll just do one tidbit. And again, I don't think this was a serious rumor, but I just thought it was more funny that I wanted to mention it. But there was somebody had mentioned, again, nobody big or anything, that the Eagles were inquiring about Jackson Powers Johnson because, apparently he's a little disgruntled with the Raiders and yada, yada, yada. And considering, Steen and the injuries to Jurgens, it would certainly make sense. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny considering many of us fanboyed over getting him in the draft a little bit back.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess we could also mention the Seahawks acquired Rashid Shaheed from the Saints. I think it was a 4th and a 5th round pick. So Seahawks, I think, are potentially the biggest threat to the Eagles for the 1 seed right now in the NFC. Maybe the Lions are up there as well, although they just dropped one to the Vikings. But I really liked that move for the Seahawks, and to be honest, I would have kind of considered giving up that kind of capital just to keep him off of their roster. So I think if you told me Shaheed was going to be a 4th and a 5th, I would have done it and tried to flip Dotson somewhere else for a day 3 pick. And then the Cowboys, obviously, they made the big move too, trading a 1st and a 2nd round pick, and Mozzie Smith, who many Cowboys fans told me would be better than Jordan Davis.
Jalen Carter.
Yeah, and Jalen Carter. Yeah, he's going to be better than both of them together, I think. Traded all of that for Quinnen Williams from the Jets, who are in full fire sale mode, also trading Sauce Gardner for 2 firsts to Indianapolis. And so a new face will be on the Cowboys' interior defensive line when the Eagles play them in a few weeks, and we'll see how that shakes out.
What'd y'all think of the Sauce Gardner trade for the Indianapolis Colts?
I was shocked that the Jets have, clearly, they just traded their 2 best players. I mean, they're certainly loaded up. I think they're trying to load up for the 2027 draft, which many experts have already projected as going to be, the next great draft. But a lot can certainly change. But, They clearly need to figure out a quarterback, and they figure maybe if we just draft 6 of them in the first round over the next 3 years, one of them's got to work out, right?
Worked out for the Browns. Yeah, I think it says a lot about how the Colts feel about Daniel Jones, because I don't think
Yeah.
you make a move like that if you don't have faith in your quarterback.
You're definitely not giving up first round selections if you even have an inkling that you may need to get a quarterback, because there's no way you're going to, be able to get a significant quarterback, without some first rounders. So.
I look at it from the Jets' perspective, and I say, I think Sauce Gardner is a top 5 corner in the NFL, and I think the trade compensation is fair. 2 firsts for Sauce Gardner, I think that's fair. It's just weird that you paid him, and there's something else going on there. You paid him last offseason, then he's not a team captain, and then you're dealing him at the trade deadline. I mean, Sauce Gardner is, how old is he? He's like 25?
Probably, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, he's 25, just turned 25 right before this season started. Like, I understand you're in a rebuild. You can rebuild, and he can be 27 when you're done rebuilding. So part of me says that's a guy you build around. But part of me is like, man, if a team wants to give me 2 first-round picks for a player in a year when I'm not any good, maybe you just do it. So I get why they did it. I think you can make an argument that, like, you shouldn't have paid him if there's other things going on behind the scenes. And if there aren't other things going on behind the scenes, you should make it work and build your defense around this guy. From the Colts perspective, though, I think it's totally insane. They do not have a franchise quarterback. The guy that's been playing good against the Dolphins and against all these other crappy teams that have 1 or 2 wins just turned the ball over 5 times against the first decent defense he's faced this year. Like, the Daniel Jones run was fun, and I think it's, I think they're going to make the playoffs this year. They've got not a hard schedule, but he is not your franchise guy, I don't think. And so, but they've just said emphatically, he is our franchise guy. He's the future of the franchise, because we'll have no way to replace him now. And I think that's a very dangerous position to be in. So if you were looking at a team like, just hypothetically, say the Eagles had traded 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, I would look at that and be like, yeah, like, okay, this is a team that's ready to go win a Super Bowl right now. They got a superstar player for 2 first-round picks. I just don't think that's where the Colts are at. And I think they've allowed a really soft schedule to sway their opinion of their roster and their team. Because, I mean, here, I'm going to pull it up.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think they're playing well above their ability right now. And you're right. They're letting that dictate them making moves. Listen, we've obviously seen Daniel Jones, and it's great that he's playing much better. But you're right. He finally faced a halfway decent defense. And what the team turn it? 5 turnovers, was it?
Yeah, he threw 3 picks and he fumbled 3 times, but they got one of them back.
Yeah, well, right. Yeah. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I think right now I'd be doing a backflip if we traded 2 first rounders for Sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have done that in a heartbeat. But it's one of our biggest needs, and we are going for Super Bowls. So why the heck wouldn't you? And you have, you said he just got, re-signed. So he has, a couple of years added onto that. You have him and Q. Who's going to throw the ball against you with Coop? I mean, you have 1,000,000,000% the best corners maybe ever.
Yeah.
I can tell you that Daniel Jones has a huge fan in the Eagles locker room. Saquon Barkley said that he thought he was a top 10 quarterback in this league if he ever got a line. So he's a huge believer. And just before we move off of it, Miami paying like 75% of Jaelan Phillips' contract is also a really good part of that trade that we kind of didn't mention there. But yeah.
I can only
think
assume,
if I was,
I was going to say, I can only assume Howie had something on the Miami GM that made him twist his arm and to be like, you're paying 75%. All right.
They basically paid for a 3rd round pick. But I think if I was Dolphins GM who had the job 3 days, Howie Roseman, probably wouldn't be the first person I would have executed a trade against.
No, it's fun. It's funny that joke gets literally said every offseason, every trade deadline. You see Howie Roseman's number come up. You do not answer that phone.
Yeah. He might be the best GM in sports, not just football, literally in sports.
And all it took was, getting
Jalen Reagor,
getting shunned to the closet, and
Jalen Reagor pick changed everything.
It really did.
Yeah. On the Colts thing, so here's the Colts wins so far this year. They've beat the 2-7 Dolphins, the 1-8 Titans, the 2-6 Raiders, the 3-5 Cardinals, the 6-3 Chargers when both of their starting tackles were out, the 1-8 Titans again, and then they did beat the Broncos in week 2. That's their only win over a good opponent that wasn't like massively hamstrung by injuries. So
two above 500 teams.
Yeah, they beat 2 above 500 teams, and one of them was missing both starting tackles. And then they
lost.
Just
out of curiosity, how many 500-plus teams had the Eagles beat? I honestly don't know the answer. I'm just
Tampa
curious.
Bay, Rams.
3 or 4?
Several.
Dallas is under. Giants are under.
Okay, so they beat the Chiefs aren't above 500, though, are they?
I don't think so.
No, not anymore. I think the loss to the Bills got them under.
Okay, they beat the Rams. They beat the Bucks. They beat are the Vikings above 500? I think they are 500.
Maybe they are 500. We'll count them.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
I mean, listen, the Bucks and the Rams right now are tied with the Eagles at 6-2, the best record in the NFC.
That's why those tiebreakers. Yeah. Those tiebreakers are so crucial.
Huge. Yeah. They could. Oh, the Chiefs are 5-4 apparently.
Okay. All right.
So
they beat 3 teams.
That's 4, baby.
Yeah, I hope it works out for the Colts because I think the Steichen, Daniel Jones thing's a fun storyline, and I think Sauce is a fantastic player. It just makes me nervous that you're now stuck with Daniel Jones. And maybe it shouldn't when we've seen guys like Sam Darnold go somewhere else and revive their career and, some of these guys that got other chances in better situations. But
I think their GM did better paying 2 firsts for Sauce than he did 1 first for Carson, but that's just me.
That's true.
Fair point.
All right, well, let's go into the preview portion of our show then, and we'll talk about a Monday Night Football game that nobody will be able to watch because YouTube TV can't get their crap together. But the Eagles are going to play the Packers, and we're going to be trying to watch it on bootleg streams on the internet. Maybe they'll sort it out between now and then.
ESPN app.
Yeah, there's a holdout brewing right now. And we get the Packers, who maybe were looking a little bit ahead and got tripped up and lost to the Panthers at home this last week, 16-13. And they had a lot of missed opportunities in that game. They had a fumble and a turnover on downs in the red zone. Micah Parsons had the first game of his career without registering a pressure. But I think the even bigger thing is Tucker Kraft tore his ACL in that game, and he is the biggest weapon that their offense has. And so that's going to be a massive blow to them. And so, as we think about previewing this game, we'll give a top matchup on each side, and we'll give some record prediction or some score predictions. So Ryan, I'll throw it to you first. What's your top matchup to watch? Eagles offense versus Packers defense.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of continue my theme of the Eagles run game versus the Packers. I think we finally saw the last time the Eagles were on the field a complete game offensively, where the run game intertwined with their passing game and vice versa. And we saw exactly how much better an offense can look when it's firing on all cylinders. And I think, and we've certainly surmised about this all season, that the catalyst to that is their run game. And can they continue that? Now with the emergence of a Tank Bigsby, who's, really taken over that RB2 role to spell, Saquon Barkley, and then kind of using jumbo packages and, again, trying different things to get this run game, going. It gives me a little bit more confidence, to be perfectly honest. And I would like for them to build on that, continue that. So that's really my kind of, focal point offensively for the Philadelphia Eagles is continuing this run game, because if the run game can continue to be effective, it opens up the passing game. We're going to get A.J. Brown back. And, when Saquon is running, the Eagles offense goes. So let's continue that.
All right. David, what about you? What's your top matchup to watch for the Eagles offense?
Yeah, I guess I'll go with the Jalen Hurts versus the defensive backs for Miami. I mean, Hurts has been playing with a lot of rhythm, extremely efficient. I mean, it's been unbelievable how well he's been. He's thrown for maybe 7 touchdowns over the past couple of weeks. He's had a perfect passer rating in Minnesota. He had 4 passing touchdowns last week, even though he only, ended up with like 160 yards. I think playing under center, it has changed things. It's just going to aid A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in quality targets as a result of a more, just believable play action that'll help with vertical routes. It'll help in timing routes, dig in routes, crossers. Just the running game being back, like Ryan mentioned, just changes everything. And if you can do that under center, it's just going to open up a lot more. I think A.J. Brown might thrive in the targets, that he's been wanting to see. His deep ball timing has been perfect with AJ, Devontae, even John. I mean, it's just been unbelievable what he's been able to do. So I'm really excited about that. I don't really see how you stop this offense unless it stops itself when things are going well. And I'm happy to see, the rhythm and everything just starting to work between Kevin Patullo and Hurts. You could see it start over the past couple of weeks. They integrated, like 10 under centers a couple weeks ago, and then a little bit more. You can just see it evolving. And, and that coincided with Saquon having his first 100-yard game since the NFC Championship game against the Commanders. So, he just looks so much more confident and comfortable back there than he has, despite the O-line having some, injury issues. And then we haven't even mentioned Dallas Goedert, who, thrives in the middle. He's got 7 touchdowns this year, which is 2 more than he's ever had in his entire career. It's funny how guys stay healthy and play their best when they know it's a free agent season here, but that's what you're getting. So, if he plays 17 weeks, during the regular season, he's going to put up some gaudy numbers, and nobody will be happier than his agent.
Yeah. One of the low-key big matchup to watch, Jalen Hurts against Xavier McKinney. No defensive back has intercepted Jalen Hurts more in his career than Xavier McKinney. Although that number is only 2, so it's not like he's got him a lot, but he has got him twice. So that one will be interesting to watch. And then, of course, Micah Parsons. We've seen a lot of Micah Parsons against the Eagles' offensive line throughout the years, and Lane Johnson has typically had his number. I don't think Lane Johnson's been as good this year as he has in the past. He's still been really good, but that's a matchup that I'm going to be keeping my eye on as well. So Xavier McKinney, is he going to get that 3rd interception against Hurts? I don't think so. And then Micah Parsons, maybe we get the 2nd consecutive game with no pressures. That'd be a lot of fun to see. So let's flip it over and look at top matchups to watch with the Eagles defense. And Ryan or David, I'll give you this one first.
I guess like a broader version, I'm just curious to watch, how Fangio and the defense focuses on Jordan Love. I mean, the easy answer is you want to see the new edge rushers. I mean, it's going to change the game. I think Jaelan Phillips can come in and play right away. And then that helps the secondary. Whoever's out there opposite Quinyon Mitchell is going to have a little easier assignment when, the quarterback doesn't have an extra second behind the line there to target him. So I think everything starts with the pressure. And it also comes down to Jalen Carter, who's been really good, but he is nowhere near playing to the level he had the year before. And if he can collapse the pocket and Ajomo can kind of pair with them and Jordan Davis to kind of, clog up the middle, the edge rushers are going to thrive. And then it just makes everything better. The pressures will come and they'll start turning into sacks like they did, a week ago. Or 2 weeks ago now, but Fangio will just make you play patient football, something that Love has kind of struggled with in the 2 losses to the Eagles last season. He's going to make you earn every inch of the field. And, I'm just excited to see the new wrinkles. Everything turned around last year with the defense after that extra bye week. And I don't think we have the same significant, additions and changes that'll happen this year, but You've added, a lot in the past couple weeks. You have Nakobe Dean, who's finally, game ready now. He's just been a godsend in the run game. You're adding Jaelan Phillips. You're adding Brandon Graham. You've taken off, Patrick Johnson, Aziz. It's just upgrades everywhere. So I think, as a collective unit, you're going to see a lot of improvement in certain areas on the defense. Whereas last year it was mainly Cooper DeJean flipped the whole script with just him.
All right. Ryan, what about you? What's your top matchup to watch?
Linebackers.
Yeah, it absolutely it is. It's going to be more importantly, it's going to be our run defense against Josh Jacobs. He's appears to be not at 100%, but still very effective and one of the better running backs in this league. And even at 90%, he's still certainly somebody to be concerned about. Obviously, since the return of Nakobe Dean, our rush defense has improved immensely. And yeah, again, with all of these edge rushers and corners being added, to the team, it's, obviously I do love my linebackers, and I certainly worry about the rotation and how, game by game, how it's going to look, with Nakobe Dean and with Campbell. Campbell basically went from playing, 95% of the snaps down to, less than 30. And yeah, I mean, that's certainly got to be a shot to him. But Dean is paramount in the defense. So I certainly don't blame the usage right now. And again, if they have another great game against a great running back, it's only going to further push that narrative that Dean's got to be out there for all potential, running plays.
Yeah. I really hope we see Jahad Campbell play more and in a different role than we did before the bye. But
he definitely should with Jaelan Phillips there. The edge rusher should kind of go back to the guys who are there to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's the Eagles' defensive backs. They catch a big break. Not that you ever want to see anybody hurt, but Tucker Kraft was the biggest weapon they have through the air. And Matthew Golden is also questionable. I'm not sure. I mean, we'll get more updates on him as we get closer to the game, but it's possible they're going to be without Matthew Golden and without Tucker Kraft. And so you would think that makes your passing attack easier to shut down. Of course, we saw the Giants light the Eagles up a few weeks ago on Thursday Night Football with practice squatters, and so anything is possible. But then I think Brett Eclipse mentioned earlier, Josh Jacobs is probably the best running back that Philly will have faced so far this year. And how is that run defense going to shake out? Because, Green Bay does a lot of the same sort of things that the Rams do that gave the Eagles a lot of difficulty running outside out of condensed formations and things like that. And so you're going to have new edge rushers in the mix. You're going to be figuring some of this stuff out on the fly. But if they're able to contain the run and really force the Packers to throw the ball a ton, I do think it's going to put them in a really good spot in this game. So, all right, let's do our score predictions and player of the game predictions. Ryan, I'll give it to you first. Lay it on me. What's your score prediction?
Oh, yeah, this is going to be certainly a tough one. It's in Green Bay. Still waiting on someone to give me a ticket to go to the game. I guess I'll just keep waiting. But I'm going to say 31-21 Eagles. I think this is a pretty close game, a little back and forth throughout, but I think Hurts and Saquon Barkley kind of push away in the fourth quarter, get a 2-score lead towards the end of the game. I'm going to say my MVP. I'm going to say Dallas Goedert. David mentioned him earlier. I think he has been having one hell of a season. Lord knows that I have said more things negatively about Dallas Goedert, and it has nothing to do with his ability to play on the field. But man, he is playing really, really well and just absolutely lights up the middle of the field. So hopefully that continues and Goddard gets in the end zone at least once.
All right. David, what about you? What do you have?
Yeah, I went almost exact same score as Ryan. I had Eagles 30, Packers 20. So we're just a point off on each one there. I think the Eagles are trending upward. I think that you're starting to see things just starting to sink in, for the players, for the coaches. I think the timing is there. I think, this extra week, helped just continue the evolution of the progress that they've made. So I'm really excited for that. I think the bye week came at a perfect time last year, and I think it came at a perfect time this year. My player of the game, I'm going with Saquon Barkley. He ran for 109 yards and caught a touchdown in Brazil against Green Bay last year.
Sure did.
And he lit him up for another 119 yards, I think, in the wild card round. So I think we just saw how well Saquon did last, time we were on the field with 100 yards at halftime. And I think he'll just keep building on that. It's been something that was there waiting to happen. It was nothing to do with him. I think we have pounded that. His moves were still there. They're just, the holes weren't, the scheme, what wasn't always the most desirable for him to be able to succeed in. And I think they started to correct a lot of those issues. So give me Eagles 30, Packers 20, Saquon
Nice.
Barkley.
All right, another 10-point victory here at apparently the recent niche show.
And
Shane had a little
get
bit
another
of
tiebreaker.
yeah,
He
is. He's got to come
another
back.
tiebreaker against the team.
He's having a bit of connection issues, so he'll be literally right back. I'm not sure how. There he is.
They keep stacking all these tiebreakers versus, potential playoff opponents. They're going to secure that one seed.
Yeah, you're absolutely
What do they need
right.
to win? 3 games to already win the NFC East, I think. But
yeah,
three or 4 wins probably. I don't know that anybody else is going to get to 9 or 10 in that division.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is we're already up, what, 2.5?
Yeah.
Well, I guess
2.5 after 8 weeks.
Is it 2.5? No, I think it's 3.5.
It's even crazier.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not good. But anyway, Shane, why don't
Yes.
you tell us your predictions for the game? Break the tie.
Yeah, before I do, let me peel back the curtain here. It would not let me join back as a host. So are you in as a host right now? I guess you are because you let me in, right?
To David, did you do that?
David definitely did not.
Because I'm not going to be able to, there's no end stream button for me, so I'm not going to be able to end the stream when we're done.
I can do that.
Okay, perfect.
All right, I guess it paid to sign into the site this time.
Yeah, so it was doing this deal where it said that my internet connection was unstable, and I knew from a previous show when it does that, I can't end the show. And then when I refreshed my tab so I could come back in and that message would go away, technically this show was scheduled to end a few minutes ago, so it wouldn't let me back in, so I had to join with the guest link that I sent to you guys. So now I'm not in as a host. Anyways, none of that matters. David, who was your player of the game prediction?
I went Saquon. He ate up Green Bay for over 100 both times last year.
Okay, so I'm going to take the Eagles in this one. I'll say 28-24. I had it being slightly higher scoring, but it turned out way too close to Ryan's score, so I'll adapt a little bit here. But 28-24 Eagles. I don't want to just repeat your score.
Well,
and David
okay, just for my info, what did you have?
I had 31-24.
All right, that's David's was closer.
Yeah.
I was 30-20.
Yeah. So we're all kind of in that same range, but I think it could be a little higher scoring, and the Eagles just tend to be in one-score games. That's just what it seems like. So I'll take the Eagles, though, and give me Jalen Hurts for the player of the game. Since nobody else picked him, I think he could have a really good game against this Packers defense. So, yeah, that's my take on the game. Anything else that we need to talk about here before we do our final thoughts?
No, I think as we said in the beginning, we had an undefeated bye week. We added some players that we needed to go forward, and again, obviously it was just one game, but it was nice to finally have a game against the Giants last time that felt more like a complete game. And now that we're going to be facing off a better opponent, let's see it again. I think we do the same against the Packers. I'm going to feel 1,000 times better moving forward for the rest of this year.
Agreed. All right, well, let's throw it around the horn then for final thoughts, and we'll get out of here. David, I'll throw it to you first. Anything you've got coming out you want to plug, the floor is yours.
You can follow everything on my X handle or Philly Sports Network, Metro Philadelphia. You can go to any of that for any of it. I don't think we mentioned Nolan Smith. His practice window is open. He should be back too. That's another addition to the pass rushing. So you're talking Jaelan Phillips, Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith. That's a slightly better arsenal than they've been throwing out the past 4 weeks. So I'm excited to see all of that come back into play.
All right. Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, just excited about this Monday night game. I'll be talking about it tomorrow with the Football Smack Talk show. We've had some family issues on Eric's side, so those seem to be all cleared up now. So we're going to be full steam ahead. So we'll see you guys tomorrow at 5:30. Talking about this Packers game a little bit more in depth, and having a good time like we always do.
All right. Well, be sure you're following these guys on Twitter, following along with all of the stuff here on the Eagles Pinpole Network. Mark and I will be going live here in just a little bit with our Week 9 version of Chalk Talk. Johnny and I are going to have BLG on the show tomorrow afternoon to revisit our preseason predictions and kind of update where we're at and talk a little bit more about the Eagles trade. So a lot of stuff coming your way. Be sure you're subscribed. And again, make sure you're following these guys on Twitter. David is at David Neese PHL. Ryan is at Philly Sports PSA. We need you guys to have the same little tag on the end. The PHL, the PSA, I always get it confused. But be sure you're following them. I am at Shane Half NFL. And we'll catch you guys next Tuesday for another episode of Birds of the Round Table. Go Birds.
Wait, I got to stop it.
Yeah, you have to stop it. I was hoping you'd remember.